Here's Sang-Hoon Chin, far side circle, finds the trailer, and Sylvester, he scores! Oh, what a rocket from number 16. Not in front, pad save by Harmon. Lead for Mitch Walinski, he's in on a breakaway, he scores! The Caberlet is shot, stopped by Harmon. The rebound came out, oh, and Harmon with the denial. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Atlanta Gladiators podcast. My name is Liam Gotimer, and I'm the Director of Broadcasting and Communications for the Glads. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Glads forward Mitch Walinski. Mitch, thank you so much for joining me, and how's the offseason been going for you so far?
Hi, Liam. Happy to be here. Offseason was tough, exhausting, and we kind of get slammed with a heat wave here, so I'm happy to get back to Atlanta, and I can't wait to get things going.
Awesome. So you mentioned the heat wave, so I assume you're back in Rhode Island?
Yeah. Last week or so has been above 95, so kind of ridiculous.
It's insane. I mean, personally, I moved to North Carolina and I couldn't get away from it. And now down in Georgia, I mean, it's pretty brutal. So for my sake and your sake, let's hope we could both get over that. But let's start off by going all the way back for you, Mitch. And growing up in Rhode Island, how did you initially get involved with the sport of hockey? What got you into it?
From what my parents told me is I started playing hockey and initially I hated it. But it was one of those things where they were like, keep going, try it, like see if you like it. And apparently the first couple times I absolutely hated it, couldn't be more interested. And then I don't know, something just flipped and I love it. Every day I play and I don't know.
Awesome. Well, that's certainly something you never know by watching you play, but certainly glad that it turned around for you and that you're able to fall in love with the sport. But follow up on that, growing up in Rhode Island, were you a Bruins fan or growing up?
I was not a Bruins fan.
Okay. All right. What was your team?
People are pretty surprised when they hear that, but I kind of bounced back and forth a little bit. I was a Flyers fan for a while with Danny Briere in town, and then became a Senators fan with Erik Karlsson and those guys. So I don't know. Right now I'm a Flyers fan again, but just not a Bruins fan, not one bit.
Well, as a Rangers fan, I couldn't agree with you more. So awesome. But prior to your collegiate career, you played 3 seasons in the NAHL. How did your time there help develop your game, in your opinion?
To start, it was a tough transition for sure, and I didn't really know what to expect going into it. I only wanted to do 1 year. I wasn't really like sure what it was going to be like, but I thought I only needed a year, and kind of hit me like a bus that I needed more than a year. So that first year was really tough and adapting to bigger, stronger players, and then by the second year, when that rolled around, I feel like I gained maturity, muscle, and I knew the game a little better. So figured why not age out, live it up.
I love it. I love to hear that. And now transitioning to your collegiate career at Salve Regina University. In your junior year, you kind of had a scoring outburst. And what clicked for you that year in 21-22?
I honestly give thanks to the COVID year. I was really disappointed. We were the only team in our conference that didn't play a single game that year, and we just had optional skates here and there at 6 a.m. So that was kind of a turnoff for most guys. They didn't want to go to those skates, but it was something I made myself do because I truly wanted to be in the position I am now. So that COVID year kind of helped me when other people weren't really able to put that work in. I was there every morning, 6 a.m. and I'm happy I did it.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a great story to just hear how you just were able to navigate that COVID year, because especially for athletes, it definitely was a tumultuous time to figure things out. So glad to hear that you were able to bounce up on that and really come out a better player. Towards the tail end of your college season, you signed your first pro contract with the Gladiators. What was that feeling like, and how was it initially joining the Glads?
It was surreal. I talked to Jeff, I think 2 or 3 days after our season ended, and I knew that week was going to be kind of chaotic just with my plans and everything that was going on. So when I got that phone call from him, I was so happy and almost relieved, but I knew that that was just the beginning. And when I got down to Atlanta, I already knew Dil Carabia, so it was kind of nice to know someone there already. But coming into a locker room with a bunch of new faces and older people, it's a change of scenery for sure from the college experience, and it was definitely something to get used to. But all the guys were really welcoming, and um, I was super happy to land in Atlanta.
Fantastic. And I vividly remember your first game in Orlando. You hit a couple posts, had a breakaway or two. You just really had an impactful night. And I came away from that broadcast saying, oh, this Mitch Walinski guy, got to keep an eye on him. How was it such a seamless transition offensively for you? Because, playing collegiately previously, hopping into your first pro game, what was that like? Obviously, a lot of nerves.
I like to play the game fast, as somebody who's watched me play can see. So I don't think the speed was a big thing for me. But we played Endicott right before I left, and they're arguably one of the best D3 teams in the country. So they're big, they hit, they're fast. So that wasn't really a tough transition, but definitely the physicality and getting used to that aspect was something tough. But I think it took 2 or 3 games, and I was pretty comfortable with where I was at.
Absolutely. And then the next game against the Greenville Swamp Rabbits at Gas South Arena, you break a 3-3 tie in the third period, potting your first pro goal. I can tell you, I went absolutely nuts in the press box. Probably heard the goal call.
On the back check for the Glads. It's going to be a 2-on-1 for Atlanta. It's Walinski with Empey. Walinski shoots, he scores!
Got to work on the decibel levels a little bit. But what was that like, just to score your first pro goal in such a massive moment against a division rival, breaking a tie in the third period?
I'm going to be honest, I kind of blacked out during it, so I don't really remember much. But I was talking to Tyson Empey in the locker room before the start of the third, and he looked at me and he goes, I think you got one this period. And I looked at him, I was like, you think so, huh? Like, I don't know. I'll see, I guess. And sure enough, I think it was 4 or 5 minutes into the period, went out there, it went in, and he looked at me and he said, I told you. So,
And the best part about that, it was you and Tyson Empey on that 2-on-1 that led to the goal. So what a great
exactly.
story that is. Transitioning now, you get to play under Derek Nesbitt this season, who obviously had his first year behind the bench as an assistant this past year. Just what was it like? I know in only 10 games, but just playing under Derek, such a influential person in this Atlanta community, and somebody who's had such an impact with the Gladiators organization for a while.
I thought it was super cool. I always heard stories and how good of a player he was when he was there and in his playing time. Um, but that was a really cool experience in the 10 or so games that I was there. And I think it's definitely going to be really cool to play under him and somebody who's been in the game so recently with their knowledge of the game. So it's going to be like having another player just coaching you. So I think that's really cool, and I'm going to try and take full advantage of that and nitpick every little thing that I can and get his feedback, because he truly is one of the greatest. So I think that's super cool to be playing for him.
For sure. And in your 10 games with the Glads last year, you saw time on the power play, on the top line as well. What was that like just for you, just to get that confidence so early into your pro career, from the coaching staff?
That was huge. I'm one of those players too that really thrives on confidence, and when I have it, I'm good. So when I got down there, I didn't really know what to expect at first. I thought it was going to be, a third, fourth line role and just see where I'm at and kind of just fill me in where I needed to be. And lucky enough for me, I got that shot, and I knew I had to take full advantage of what I had there and that opportunity. So I tried to do as much as I could and play with that confidence and not be scared to make mistakes, because that's when you make mistakes, is when you play scared. So Yeah, that was awesome, and I'm really happy it happened that way.
Absolutely. And what are your thoughts on some of the first year players that you were teammates with last year that are coming back for a second go? You mentioned Dylan Carabia, who you played a short time with in college, Tyler Harmon as well, who came in around the same time as you. Just what's that like just to see these guys again being given that confidence from the coaching staff, being brought back and being put in prominent roles like yourself?
It's awesome. I know a couple young players too that just recently signed as well, so that's going to be cool to be back in an atmosphere where I know the people, and we grew close towards that end of the season there, where we were the young guys, and we kind of stuck together, and it was just a new experience for all of us. So we harnessed that, and I'm excited for the future.
Awesome. And now let's get into some fan questions. And there's a good amount of them. And we'll start off on Instagram. And Caleb asks, what's your favorite part of the sport of hockey now? I know you mentioned that you hated it growing up. I would assume that's changed a little bit now. Is it the goals, the saves, the crowd, your teammates? What is it that gets you fired up about the game the most?
That I couldn't really pick one singular thing. It's kind of everything. You see a big crowd, you're fired up. You see a cool goal, um, stuff like that. But I mean, just like an empty sheet of ice in an empty building is it's a weird thing to like, but just being alone in an ice rink, I'd say is cool. Skating on the ice alone.
I like that for sure. And we'll go to Facebook now. And Janine, she asks, what's your favorite thing you did during summer break besides trying to avoid the heat?
Oh, that's tough. Um, It was my sister's 21st birthday, so I
Oh,
took her down
nice.
to
Big one.
Newport, Rhode Island, where I went to college, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Newport, but it's a very touristy town, and in the summer, it's amazing. It's got restaurants, bars, and when there's not a cloud in the sky, it's even better.
Love that. I've never been to Newton, but I previously came from Savannah, which is very much a touristy town like that. And I definitely understand the allure. So that's definitely a good choice. And Ryan on Facebook, he asks, what are your goals for the season? And do you think you can keep up the momentum that you had at the end of last year?
I definitely want to keep up that momentum. I try not to let that go to my head, and really put in a lot of work this summer, and trying to get stronger, faster, stuff like that. So, um, not really focused on the points as much, because I know that those will come if I'm doing the right things. So that's really my goal for the beginning of the season, is to just make sure I'm doing every little possible thing right, treating my body right, and the points are going to come. That's just how it goes.
Well said. That's a good mentality. And now Nate on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, he asks, what are you most looking forward to in your second season? I know it's probably a bunch of things running through your mind, but if you could quickly pinpoint one.
Um, Honestly, just a full year of pro hockey. I think that's going to be a really cool experience, and um, getting down to Atlanta, I mean, I didn't really get to see too much of it, but I'm really excited to go out, explore, golf, maybe a Braves game if I get there in time, stuff like that.
It's a good time to watch the Braves, that's for sure. Matt on Twitter or X, he asks, who is your favorite fictional hockey player? That was an interesting one.
Uh, let's see.
Got to go back to some of the classic.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't want an obvious answer like Happy Gilmore. I'd probably say Adam Banks from Mighty Ducks, just
Love that.
number 9, Cake Eater. Like I love those movies, so I'll go with Banksy.
An absolute classic, the Mighty Ducks. And two more questions for you. Charlie on Twitter or X, he asks, what was your first purchase after signing your first pro contract? And maybe not your first actual purchase, but like what was something that you really wanted? You signed that pro contract and you were finally able to get your hands on.
It wasn't anything crazy. It was actually a TV from or a gaming monitor from Walmart.
Oh,
I I went there with another guy on the team, me and Todd, and we both bought monitors for Xbox, and yeah, we used them. We were down there for however many days we got it, and then right before we left, there was no room in the carry-on bag, so we returned them.
You a big NHL guy, or what do you like?
No. I play NHL here and there, but
Okay.
Fortnite's
Fortnite?
yeah,
Oh, there's no more better of a feeling than getting a victory royale. I could tell you that.
seriously.
All right. Well, final fan question for you. Tony the Tiger, who has probably the best username of anybody who submitted a question, he asks, "What do you do in your free time away from the rink?"
Um, I'm a big coffee guy, so I like Dunkin's my go-to, but this year when I'm down in Atlanta, I want to explore more and see if I can find like a nice little coffee shop or something cool that nobody knows about, and I can show the boys and be like, "Hey, look what I found." Um,
Awesome.
so I'd say that, and yeah, I'm a big Fortnite guy, so love playing Fortnite. I also love being outdoors, so anything involved with those things, I'm there.
Drop your gamer tag after we hang up the call with you.
Yeah, I got you.
Awesome. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Atlanta Gladiators podcast. Mitch Walinski, thank you so much for joining me. We'll talk next time.
Thank you.
Awesome. You can find the Atlanta Gladiators podcast in video form on YouTube, or you can listen wherever you get your podcast. We'll talk soon. Thanks.